There are people throughout the world that have interesting stories to tell. Stories of heroism, acts of kindness, near-death experiences, successes, and failures. You usually hear of these stories from people that live in another state or country. But what about the stories from within your own community? Everyone has a story to tell. And by everyone, we mean your neighbor, your coworker, the person behind you at church, people you interact with on a daily basis, or maybe even you.
Welcome to the DTB Podcast presented by the Bless Your Heart Nonprofit Corporation. I'm Brennan Matherne, and I'll be your host as we speak to some of the most interesting people on Bayou Lafourche. The DTB Podcast's focus is to provide a platform for people up and down Bayou Lafourche to share their stories. Sometimes that goal involves walking down memory lane, much like our last few episodes. But today we're sitting down with Bart and Amanda Matis of Chack Bay. They are here to share about their son Evan, whom they tragically lost to suicide last year. And we hope this episode can provide awareness, support, and resources to individuals in our community. According to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, suicide is the second leading cause of death for children ages 10 to 14 and third leading cause of death for individuals ages 15 to 24. To put this data into perspective, this means that on average, one person dies every 12 hours due to suicide in Louisiana. So on that note, we want to welcome Bart and Amanda to the show. Bart, Amanda, thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
So, like we start every podcast here with the good old down the bayou saying, we want to know who's your mom and dad. We want to get to know you before we get into your story. Tell us about you, your family, where you grew up, and how you guys met.
Yeah, I'm Bart Matis. I'm 46 years old. I grew up in Thibodeau off of Tiger Drive. My mom is Carla Schwartz. She was a UZA. My mom and dad divorced when I was young. My father's Thane Matis. He was a state trooper for 25 years. Went to Thibodeau High, graduated in 94. I met Amanda at Renee's Bar in Thibodeau.
Good old Renee's Bar.
My name is Amanda Cato Matis, and I'm originally from Schriever. My mom is Carolyn Babin, who grew up in Bayou Blue, and my dad is Earl Cato, who grew up in Missouri. And my dad had the infamous Schriever Auto Parts, the junkyard, where I grew up learning how to pull parts to earn money. That was my chores. And so I lived in Schriever until Bart and I got married, which will be 20 years in October that we've been married. And since then, we have had 3 beautiful children. I am currently a case manager for Easter Seals, where I work with children with disabilities to make sure that they get the services that they need. I'm in the process of transitioning to Lafourche Parish government. I will be the new Community Action Executive Director soon. And Bart?
Yeah, I work for Pipeline Construction and Maintenance out of Houma, Louisiana for Mr. Mike Fazy. He's a senator. I also am in the reserves for the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office, which I really enjoy doing. And kind of helps a lot doing both. I really enjoy giving back to the community. Is why I got into law enforcement. My dad did it. I never wanted to be a state trooper. I always wanted to work for the Sheriff's Department. I was always intrigued by the old logo with the man with the push pole, for whatever reason. We're a real down-home family. We do all the South Louisiana things that we grew up doing, cookouts, hanging out at people's houses, just having a good time.
We have a very strong family unit. We have our oldest daughter, Mallory. She is 19, and she is going to be a junior at Southeastern. So she is actually going to school for psychology and a master's in mental health counseling. And we have Hattie. Hattie is 11 now, and she keeps us busy. She's always on the go, cheering and playing volleyball and TikToking or whatever they do now. And so we have a special bond with them, but we also have one more child, and he is the reason why we're here today, because we unfortunately experienced something that we never thought ever would be possible in our family.
So tell us about Evan. Evan Matis, who we lost in August of 2020. Tell us about his life and up until that day. Talk about his friendships, what it was like at school, his hobbies, his passion, things like that.
Yeah, Evan was born May 4th, 2004. He was 10 pounds, 3 ounces. He had the little nickname of Baby Ham Bone. We call him Ham. He was a very intelligent little kid. He liked cars. That was his biggest thing when he was little. Lightning McQueen and Thomas the Train. He was a mama's boy. This is a kid that went to any baseball game, always caught a ball. We went to Miami, me and him. We've been all over Zephyrs, LSU, high school game. If he went to a game, he caught a ball, which if he wasn't playing it. My dad took me and my brother for years to games, never came close. He just had that little nick in him that he can just catch balls. I thought that was unique. He liked gaming. He played a lot on the games. He had a good group of friends, about 14 guys that still talk to us. We still communicate with them. Just your average down-home boy. I remember one time we went to Branson on a field vacation. They had a pond, so him and his little partner went out there at night and went frogging. They had a security guard riding around. They would duck off in the water, just say face show, so the guy wouldn't see him, come up with frogging. That's the kid we had.
He was kind of down for anything. I mean, he was just the laid back kid, the super intelligent kid. He was projected to be valedictorian of his high school class of 2022. He had a 4.0 average. Just never gave us any trouble. We try to think of all the memories we have with him, and they're all great memories.
Yeah, he was also a very caring kid. At the age of 7, he was going through his baseball equipment and told Amanda one day, he goes, "Mom, every year we buy a new bat. What happens to all these old bats? What about the kids in our community that don't have gloves and this and that?" He said, I want to do something. So Amanda said, "Well, whatever you want to do, Evan, what you thinking?" He goes, "What happens if I collect all his items, clean them, and give them away?" So we did it. Scott Sanders from Tilbury that went to Tilbury High, pitched in Major Leagues, and Mr. Jerry Sanders. They got Amanda and Mr. Jerry worked together, so Scott jumped aboard and said, "Hey, I'm gonna spread the word," because his kids was in travel ball at the time. So Evan collected.
It was over 500 items.
500 items,
That's
cleaned
amazing.
them himself, and then the day we gave it out, within 30 minutes, everything was gone. And then the big drop off was nothing against them. The paper came and wanted to interview him. And he hated that. That was like the cutoff. So he didn't want to do no more after that because he wasn't doing it to be recognized. He just wanted to help. He said he thought everybody should be able to play ball, So that's the caring part. The teachers at the school he went to, which is a Valve, said every morning he would go up and put his school bag down and go in the back of class and talk to the special needs kids, seeing how they're doing every day. He was the caring kid. He was big into politics. Jeopardy, he'll walk in a room, he can answer pretty much about 95% of the questions very quickly. He was just that type of kid.
Yeah, absolutely. He always stood up for his friends, and when he saw something that he didn't like, or if a kid was being bullied, he would step in. I actually received a Facebook message after Evan passed away from a mother who said that she will never forget that her son was bullied a lot on their baseball team. Evan played, he loved baseball. He was a left-hander. great little pitcher and first baseman, and that she will forever be grateful that Evan stood up to the kids that would bully her son, and that she would never forget it. And I just, cried and cried and cried that day because I had forgot about that. And so he was just that kind of kid, he never got into any trouble. I recently got another message from someone who just found a teacher that had just found out that he had passed, and she explained to me that he was one of the most respectful kids that she had ever met, and he was just a good kid. I mean, but as he started, I guess when he turned 13, 12, 13, he decided he no longer wanted to play baseball. He felt that it wasn't fun anymore. He felt he played travel ball and felt that the fun was gone. He said, it just isn't fun anymore, Mom. Like I feel like, the parents are just too involved, and it's just too much, and I don't like it.
He felt that kids' sports should just be played by kids. Parents shouldn't be allowed to go watch, because he felt that gave too much pressure, and I don't know. He told me one day, it sounds like it's more about the parents than it is about the kids. We just want to have fun.
Yeah, definitely. So from that point on, he had stopped playing baseball, and we didn't think anything of it.
We wasn't pushy parents. Yeah. We always
all we said was you start something, you finish it, so you got to finish the year.
And as a father, I mean, like I told him, he's like, man, he said, Dad, you upset? I was like, no. I said, what I enjoyed doing was watching you succeed at something. I don't care what it is, as long as you got something to do. I mean, I enjoy watching you play. I will miss that. But if that's not what you want to do, that's fine. I mean, there's other things you can do. So we wasn't pushy. A bunch of his friends got together on a team one year. They was going to make a team that was going to Tipperary High. They played for one summer. Said, I'll get used to playing with each other. And like the first practice, it was just kind of like a bunch of guys get together. And he looked at me and goes, I really don't want to be here. I said, that's your friends. You go tell them. Well, at the end of practice, he got up and told all his friends, hey, look, I'm really not into this. I want to take time away from y'all. Y'all can play this. Cool. So the coach came up to me, man, what you told your son? I said, bro, I didn't think he had the guts to do it, but he got up and told y'all what he felt. And look, his friends still talk to him. I mean, it took a lot for a kid that age in front of your friends and tell them, hey, I don't want to play ball with y'all because I'm not interested in this no more. Like Amanda was saying, just his intelligence, I think that really got to, I don't know if it got the best of him, but I think it contributed to it. But it he always told us he never wanted to grow up.
And that's what I was going to get at is, listening to his story. I mean, he sounds like he would have been an amazing friend, an amazing person to know, and very intelligent. And I know a lot of our listeners are probably listening to this story and are relating. I know I am with my kids and the different aspects that, of the character traits they're showing with Evan. But obviously, at some point, something had to change. Did y'all notice any changes in him towards the end?
No, it's really, being a law enforcement officer and Amanda being in mental health her first 5 years of her career, we taught to look for signs. So, I mean, you go through that checklist. I'm pretty sure every parents go out there, got a checklist. They're like, oh, they're not doing this. That's what I seen. We really didn't have no signs of any depression, any thing, different behavior.
We noticed that he kind of he didn't like to go places. He became kind of an introvert.
But I mean, he's always been that way.
But he was always an introvert.
But this day and age, all teenage boys want to stay home and play video games.
Play in their room.
So is that normal? Rooms. I mean, you go through these things like, is this normal behavior for a kid this age? There was nothing that stood out to us. I think that's what got me the hardest with that was like, did I miss something? So, I mean, it ate me up for a little while because I went back from the time he was born. Amanda did the same thing of, man, was there a key that we missed? It was a sign. We looked in his behavior in school, nothing changed.
His grades.
His grades didn't change. His friends, he still had his 14 friends that he always had. He still talked to them. We talked to him after the incidents and leading up to his death. I mean, he did everything the day of. He was still in his happy, joking mood.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, and I know this will be difficult, but let's talk about and kind of recap that day that y'all lost Evan. Just, kind of take us through the day, the morning of the phone call y'all received and throughout the progression of the day.
So the morning of, our oldest, Mallory, was her move-in day at Southeastern in Hammond. So Amanda gets together, we get outside, take a picture. Evan normally don't like to take pictures, so he came out there and joked with me. I used to always have a little saying. After I cut the grass, I used to always tell him, look at a beautiful man's yard. So that morning, the day before, he cut the grass, so he walked out, said, hey, Daddy, look at that beautiful man's yard. I was like, oh, all right, you got me. So nothing changed. No signs, no nothing. We take pictures. He took one. Then after that, like, he's done. Hattie stayed with him that morning. My mom lives right behind us, which is normal routine. Hattie was going to a swim party. My mom was coming to pick up at 10:30. We left the house about 8:30 that morning to go to Hammond.
We asked him if he wanted to come with us, and he was like, no, there's just going to be too many people. If everybody's moving in, that's just too many people. But he did ask something that I go back now and realize that was something, because he never did it before. He was very specific on the times. So he said, so y'all are leaving at this time. Her move-in time is, because it was increments by your last name. Her move-in time is this, so that means you guys will probably be back home for this time. And he was very specific in those times, so that was something different for him.
Yeah. From that point, we leave. Hattie stays with Evan. Another thing we found out afterwards is my mom comes to pick up Hattie to go to a swim party, and Hattie goes, bye, Evan, I love you. And he answered her back for the first time ever and says, I love you too. Then my mom picks up Hattie, brings her to a little swim party. The last person to talk to Evan was me about that day. About 11:30, he called to ask what to put the oven on to cook. No, not the air fryer, to put some chicken nuggets or whatever he was eating. And Amanda was like 4:50 for I don't know how many minutes. And I was like, "Brett, don't listen to your mom. I'll put it on this." He said, "Okay." So that was the last conversation anybody had. From that point, we moving in Mallory. The whole day is just moving your daughter in and going through that. Actually, that morning, I was a full-time employee of the sheriff's office at that time. I did actually look at the weapon that he chose to commit the suicide with, to bring it with me. With that being said, people think that if you took it, it wouldn't have happened. Well, if it wouldn't have happened that day, it would have happened another day. So I don't beat myself up on that. The reason I didn't take it was I'm going to have an unlocked car. The guns will be unsecured. People will be moving in. They got people all over the place. So I left it there. And we have multiple weapons at our home. So we go on.
Like everybody in South Louisiana does.
And look, all my family knows where everything is, where every key's at. They all know how to use the weapon. Being a law enforcement officer, you're not home at night. So you teach your family to protect themselves. He's the man in the house when I wasn't home. So from that point, we moving in Mallory. Hattie at this time comes home. My mom picks up for a swim party. She's going to stay at my mom's house. Let's go check on Evan. So she drops off our little 11-year. At the time she's 10. Drops off at the house. She walks up to the back door, bangs on it. He don't open. So she, with her own strength, pretty much yanks the door open. The door was locked. Goes in the house, walks to his room, and yells, "Evan, get off that machine." She walks in his room. She noticed that he's laying on the bed, and she describes to me that Dad looked like he had 2 Jolly Ranchers in his nose. She didn't see anything. And then she went to touch him and realized that he had my pistol in his hand. So she runs out, grabs the iPad, running out the house. By this time, my mom was running in the house. So she calls my wife. At this time, I'm parking the car, walking up to the apartment. The apartment's on the 2nd story. I'm walking up, and here comes my oldest one, Mallory, running down the stairs, freaking out. I'm like, oh, my God, we didn't even leave yet. And she found a roach, is what I'm thinking. But as I'm getting closer, where I can see Amanda coming down the stairs, Mallory cannot utter nothing out. Amanda's shaking, and I can see my baby girl running on Amanda's phone, screaming. And then Mallory, our oldest one, utters out the word, "Evan has your gun." At that point right there, knowing how Evan researched everything and how precise he was, I knew what happened. I knew what he did. I figured he committed suicide, and he did it correctly. Ever since Evan was little, everything he did was always to the T. If we was playing, say, a game of pool, you would ask him to play, he wouldn't play against you because he wanted to figure out what was the object of the game and how can he beat you. Then, once he figured it all out, then he would play you and beat you. From that point, it's chaos. Amanda finally calling 911. They're already en route. I mean, she's making calls from Hammond, so it's just chaos. So Mallory stays with her new roommate that we just met probably a couple of hours ago. And from there, my police training kicked in, which I would really like to thank Sheriff Craig Weber for the stuff he does for his officers and training that he puts us in. Kind of get choked up on this part because that's how much it means to me. Some of this training we take came into my personal life and got us through this moment. We had an hour and 15 minutes to get back to my house, knowing that my son committed suicide. At this time, we don't know if he succeeded, if he was still living. We don't know this. So we jump in the car. Me and Amanda go. I'm driving. I call my dad. We call the pastor. I actually called our dispatch. I know they won't give me no information. I already know all the answers. That's how I felt that day. So we did take a training, like I said, from the sheriff's office, which was CIT training. And they had a lady that spoke to us of saying how she lost her son to suicide, and for 7 years she chased why did her son do this. And at the time she lost her husband, and her other kids won't talk to her anymore because she consumed her life with chasing this reason why. And still to this day she had no reason why. So I started instilling that into my wife. The ride home was kind of, I knew what was going on, so I was able to explain to my wife who was going to be being a police officer. I was explaining who was going to be there, how long it was going to take, and I told Amanda, as soon as we get there, you go to Hattie. I'm going to handle all the questions.
But this whole time, I'm thinking that this was a mistake and that this didn't happen, that there's no way that Evan would have did this. That, just the night before, Evan and I were laying in the bed together, and we were making fun of Bart because Bart was watching Gomer Powell, and went in the bedroom because I didn't want to watch Gomer Pyle, but he watches Gomer Pyle every night, and so we were making a joke about it, and so I'm thinking somebody has something wrong here. Like, this is not true. This is not happening. This is not happening to my family. Like, like, I don't know at this point what is reality and what is not reality, because I just couldn't wrap my head around it, because we never saw anything like that. And Evan, we said that he kind of, pushed away and stayed in his room a lot. But I mean, you can't really differentiate typical teenage behavior from, suicidal behavior, because that a typical teenage boy likes to stay in his room. He likes to game. He likes to watch movies. So on this whole ride home, I'm just certain that I'm getting home, and this is all a big mistake. That this is just a terrible misunderstanding, and that I'm gonna see him when I get home, and everything's gonna be okay. But we get home, and it's not what happened.
So when we get home, you always hear this people talk about this numbing feeling in your arms. I remember getting out the car. Walking to me was Sheriff Greg Weber and one of our detectives. I remember walking up, having that numbing feeling in my arm. It's hard to explain. I still get it here and there. I remember shaking my hands, and I told the detective, I said, "Just give me 5 minutes." I remember bending down. Then I came back up, pulled myself together, and he explained pretty much where they found him and everything. He was sitting on his bed. He was asked me if he was left-handed. I said yes. He used my pistol, a single shot to his left temple. From that point, they did tell me that he left a note. So my wife and my girls, well, Hattie's at my mom's. So I have the challenge of, do I tell my wife there's a note? What's in this note? I don't know this at this time. They advised that I'll be able to read it when they finish up everything. So I walked back to my mom's house to the back because Hattie's asking for her dad. Leading up to this, I didn't go to the house to look at him, which I regret because my baby daughter didn't have that opportunity. On my way there to the house, I was like, I'm going to see my son. And being law enforcement, you see enough where you don't want to see your own. So that's the only regret me and my wife have, is that we didn't go look at him because our daughter didn't have that opportunity.
She didn't have a choice. She had to see him that way, and we chose not to see him.
So Mallory gets back from Hammond. I'm still debating what to tell my wife if they have a note. So I said, man, if I don't tell them this and they find out later that they did have a note, I'm thinking somebody hurt my son. What am I do? It's just all these. I have a decision to make. So I'll get my wife and the two girls away from everybody. And I explained to them, I said, look, from here on out, whatever happens, we're a family. We're going to do this together. Every decision is going to be made from here on out. We're doing it as a family. Evan did leave a note. So at this time, the sheriff's office has a thing called police social services. They come out when they have a crisis and they help the family. If your house burned down, they give you a voucher to get you somewhere to stay. It's a wonderful thing that a lot of departments don't have. Me and Amanda goes out and speaks on CIT training, and a lot of departments look at us crazy when we tell them we have this little thing with the sheriff's department that helps our people in Lafourche Parish. It's like, man, we never heard of this. So that's offered to any crisis thing that happens. And so they're there. They talking to Hattie, talking with my wife. So at this time, they came get me and said, you can come read the note. It's ready. So I walk up. So that was the that was I guess a defining moment, because I'm shaking just as much as I was when I first showed up to my house, because I don't know what's in this note. So I read it. It says, Mom and Dad, I love you. Y'all did nothing wrong. This is the option I chose. You need to get over it and move on. The next page was his passwords to his banking account, his PlayStation, and his phone. And nothing changed with his handwriting until you get to the last part of where his banking information was next to the plane tickets that we was going to Washington, because he wanted to go to Washington that summer. From that point, everybody leaves. We go to my mother-in-law's house. We didn't stay. That's, like I said, PSS office to get us a room. I was like, no, save it for somebody in the community that needs it. We're fine. We went and stayed at our own hotel. We go to my mother-in-law's house. And then my mother-in-law asked the question, why you had a loaded gun in your house. So like I said earlier, I said, Miss Carolyn, with all due respect, when your son was that age, didn't he know every key, every bullet, every gun? Yes. She said, yes, but I don't mean it like that. I said, no, we're going to get this out of the way right now. I said, when I leave the house, my girls know where it's at. He knows that. If I would have had a lock, he'd have still known how to get to it. So from there, we go to the hotel. The next morning, our sleep schedule after this is you have none. So we sleep at a hotel, sleep off and on. So next morning about 6, Amanda gets on social media and puts out this on Facebook.
We live in a very small town, and know people were,
like to gossip.
Like to gossip and talk, and so I needed everybody to clearly understand what happened, and which is why I made this post.
And she put on the post, so this is less than 12 hours. She puts, with great sorrow, disbelief, and broken hearts, our sweet Evan committed suicide. There was no signs. Evan liked to be home. He was super smart, quiet, and always smiling. We had no idea he was in any pain. The picture I posted yesterday, which was the day that Mallory was leaving for Southeastern, which had all 3 kids in it, was taken just hours before this tragedy. Please keep our family in your prayers. Please hug your babies tight. Our lives are forever changed. Rest my sweet baby. So after that, I
didn't want to go home.
Matt, that I told the kids, we got to go home. We got to go make funeral arrangements. So everybody's up in arms. So I said, all right, y'all, this is what we got to do. I said, we got 3 major hurdles. I said, yesterday was the worst day of our life. I said, we got to make funeral arrangements, which is going to be tough. And then we have the funeral. I said, we cannot let the devil take the house away from us. That's our memories we have in Evan. I do not care if y'all ever go back in his room. I don't care. But we have to go back in the house. We can't. That's where we live. We can't avoid it. So it took a little while, and everybody agreed we could go in as a family. So we all went in. It took months before some of us in the family went in this room. It's just something I felt we had to do as a family. We had to go make funeral arrangements, which it's not the girls who all had say so. We decided to cremate him. Evan didn't like people looking at him, so and I couldn't see putting my son in the ground. So we ended up cremating him. My wife and my daughters have changed with his ashes in it. So when we go places on trips, we take him with us. I have a dog tag with his fingerprint on it that I wear every day.
My God, our community just came, like, whether it be food or cards or calls or just stopping by. I mean, our community just came together, and we were contacted by Chad and Mandy Pruitt with the Eastside Bike Riders Club, and they were like, we want to do a bike ride.
In honor of Evan.
In honor of Evan. And so we kind of changed our mindset. Like, okay, he's gone, but we have to do something about this. We have to do something about this, what happened, the way he died, and we have to do something for our community.
We always taught our kids to give back. Hattie, who found her brother, wanted to read his eulogy that day. So we said, whatever you want, baby. And she nailed it. She had 2.5 pages. She got choked up at the very beginning, and then she had everybody laughing. It helped her that day. She did go. We did bring us a counselor. We all went to counselors. I was the last one to go. It took another law enforcement officer to kind of get on my butt about it. He says, "Look, you making everybody else go, but you're not going. You need to go." So I mean, you have that, and that's something that people don't take in account of your mental health. I talked to somebody and they said it's easy to fake being happy. So that stuck out to me. That saying that it's easy to fake being happy. It's so easy to get away with. And we'll never find out the reason why Evan chose to commit suicide. All we could do now is turn it around and give back and be there for other families. Just recently had a family in the Lafourche Parish area, lost their son, about 15 years old. They reached out to us 2 days after. So we didn't have that, somebody to come to us and just have somebody to talk to of how it's going to be like, what it's like. I mean, everybody handles tragedies different and pain different. So I didn't expect it to be that soon, but it did make a difference for them. They thanked us. We went to their child's funeral, which was tough, but it's just another stepping stone.
And I did want to touch on that too, where, as the days and months progressed and kind of segue into where we are now. But you touched on something, Amanda, that is so true. Watching our community come together after a tragedy is amazing. And if you've lost anyone, as you guys have, tragically and unexpectedly, you know that firsthand. And it's unfortunate that that's a lot of the times when you see that passion is when you've had tragedy. But it's amazing to see, and you don't know all the things that happen behind the scenes until it happens to you. But we live in an amazing place, to say the least.
Absolutely. It gave me hope in humanity. It gave me a different outlook, because all of these people we haven't talked to in years are reaching out to us and, like I said, bringing food to us, sending cards, just anything that they could do, and it just gave me so much hope. And I don't know if those people realize how much they helped us with where we are today. Because that immediate response from our community after has brought us to where we are today, because we realized, gosh, if they could do this for us while we were in the worst point of our lives, then we can take this and we can do something good from it, and we can make a difference. We can save a life. Even if we save one life, it's a life. So that was just, like I said, it just gave me so much hope and so much pride. It just made me proud to live in this community and to be so many people to reach out to us. And so many people reached out and said, I know where Evan was because I was there. And I was like, wait, what? You? No, I would have never thought that. And so many people, you have this stigma on the word suicide, or this stigma on mental health, or this stigma on taking mental health medications, that a lot of people don't like to talk about it. But they opened up to us, both of us, several people to both of us about their mental health and the things that they struggle with, and that they were in a place where Evan was.
We taught as young men that you become the man. You can't show emotion. We got to cross that point, Even if you have a conversation with your son, it's okay. It's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to be down. After his funeral, a teacher reached out to us and thanked us because the next day her son went to her and told her that he was having them thoughts. Just because at the funeral, I was put on a spot to get up and talk. Didn't know what to say, so I just went with the flow. And it's a kid that I coached in Little League maybe for a couple of years, and I don't know if it's something I said or something maybe Hattie said in her eulogy or whatever. It just, you hear stories like that. Still to this day, we still have people call us, who should we go see? We have a counselor that says, if somebody needs something, you call me. Here's my personal number, and I'll make sure an appointment to get with them. We had to do that a couple of weeks ago. It's amazing, these people, like Amanda's saying, in this community, in Lafourche Parish, we have the most sincere people and helpful people, no matter where you live or what's your last name. When it comes down to the need for somebody, people are there for us. Gives us strength to do the things we do. We did a T-shirt sale. Somebody reached out to us. I wasn't big about it. I'm like, I don't know this. So they sold us shirts. The money we got from it, we bought some kids some iPads in Lake Charles that had special needs after Hurricane Laura. Then we did a baseball scholarship at LBA, where Evan played his best years of his life, that he enjoyed playing baseball. A guy I went to school with, and so I approached him with it. So I want to pick up a kid's tuition for a year, but I just don't want to give it to a kid. So he came up with the idea that these people are going to have to apply for it. So don't know the kids' names. They had player A, B, C, D, and E. And so as a family, we each get a vote, which is probably one of the hardest things I've had to do, because we had 5 applicants. That was like, who do you choose? We all chose somebody different as a family. And somebody picked up the other one's kids. We still do that every year. We bought school uniforms from some kids in the Terrebonne Parish area. We do have opportunities to do other things, kind of big, but we don't want to go big. I want to stay here. I want to give back to the community
that gave everything to us in our time of need.
So let's talk about Hope Squad and the mission and goals of this endeavor.
So Hope Squad is actually a peer-to-peer intervention program for schools. They like to focus on grades 8 through 12. And it is a costly program because the kids are trained and the advisors are very well trained to handle situations. It started in Utah with a doctor in Utah because I think his high school had maybe 17 suicides in 1 year. And so he said, I have to do something. And he came up with Hope Squad. And so the first school in Louisiana to get a Hope Squad was Lutcher High School after the tragic loss of one of their students. So we approached Evan's school, which was Virtual Academy of Lafourche. Now this is a hard one because, again, you have a stigma. And people think if you talk about it, then that gives people ideas. And I am very proud to say that Virtual Academy of Lafourche is getting the program. And they are extremely excited. They will focus first on the Thibodaux location and the Down the Bayou location, which I think is in Galliano. So it's going to be at both of those locations. And it's a peer-to-peer intervention, so the peers are trained and to be
that trustworthy individual, that if someone is feeling down or having, thoughts of suicide or just having bad thoughts or struggling with their mental health, that it's somebody that they can go to and be comfortable with to discuss. And then that peer contacts an advisor, and the advisor takes over from there.
So that's definitely one thing I wanted to touch on as we start to wrap up here. I wanted to see, I mean, like you said, y'all had a lot of questions and you didn't see a lot of things beforehand, but you've learned a lot on this journey since then. So what advice would you have for parents with teenagers, with children, and can you give us a list of resources that they can seek out as well?
Absolutely. Just to be involved. We were involved in Evan's life, but very much so. But a lot of times, say we were going out to dinner as a family, and he's like, "No, just bring me something back. I don't feel like going. Just bring me something back." And those are things that I wish I would have said, "No, you're coming with us." But then that's something that we struggle back and forth
with. Because, we talk to other parents, if his friends, like, we do that all the time because he don't want to come. They too busy playing that game. Right.
Or was he that depressed, in pain, and it was painful for him to exit the house? Would that have been something that was just too painful for him to get out of the house?
Amanda and even I had a conversation with Evan about suicide. Being a cop, he would come home. I would come home. How was your night? Or how was your shift, Dad? This, that. And some things I would tell him. And he was like, man, y'all really do that? It's like, yeah, So it's for parent to a parent, we had an open door policy at my house. I don't know what I would have done different. I just think it's good to have communications. Look, something that you may think is minor might be a big deal to them. It could be as simple thing as of going with y'all to an outing, to a wedding. That might be like putting pressure on them. Just the simple why, or
if you hear your child focusing a lot on their future, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to be. Just let them know that that's okay. They don't have to know that right now. How many of us have went to college and, changed our major 10 times before we actually got a degree? They don't have to know that, but for some reason, this generation feels like they're supposed to know what their future is going to be like. And Evan did feel that pressure. We do know that because he talked to us about that. And he said he felt because he was so smart that people thought he had to do something great.
And I told him, I said, I don't care if you work at O'Reilly's. It doesn't bother me. Well, do whatever you feel like doing. So he wanted to join the Air Force. So I said, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, but they feel so much pressure now. And, I think it's social media and, what everyone around you is doing, and this one is great and this one is great, so you have to be great too. And that's just not the case. Let your children take their time to be who they are. They do not have to know at 16 years old, 17 years old, 18 years old what they're supposed to be doing. As long as they're doing something positive, then, they're doing. So there are several resources. Well, first, let me tell you about, we're having a bike ride. It's tentatively scheduled for September 11th. And this is a bicycle ride. Last year, some people got confused and thought it was motorcycles. But this is bicycles. And the Louisiana Eastside Riders Club, which is Chad and Mandy Pruitt, they had just came to us and wanted to do something. So they put this bike ride together. And so this year we're not only riding for Evan, but we're riding for another child in our community that committed suicide. And it is called the Ride Against Suicide. And basically we meet at Big Lots in Thibodaux. on bicycles, and it's at night, so everybody decorates their bicycles with lights. And the city of Thibodaux is just amazing with this. They escort the bike ride.
Yeah, escort and block off the road so everybody's safe.
So everybody's safe. The kids just thought it was the coolest thing to ride down Canal Boulevard with, at night with their bike lights on. And then we go to the park and have a candlelight vigil.
And we honor
all of those that have lost.
Chad and Minnie do a good job of going back and what they can find of statistics of people
in our parish
that claim a loss to suicide. And so it's kind of honoring all that. And so we do a candlelight vigil. We released some balloons last year. Chad gives a speech. We talked last year. And then from there, we're going to proceed this year to ride all the way back to
Big Lots.
Because the kids just wanted to keep riding
it was the coolest thing. So they do $5 a bike. You just show up. You don't have to register. You just show up there. And you pay your $5, and we get in line, and we all ride together. The local hotline that people can use is called Call Link, and someone local will answer this call. This is not someone from, California that's going to answer. This is actually through South Central Louisiana Human Services Authority, and that number is 877-500-9997. And there's also the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, which would be somebody not local, which is 800-273-8255. Parentguidance.org is a great parental resource for children with mental illness. And of course, like I said about Hope Squad, so...
And how can people get more information on Hope Squad?
On Hope Squad, you can go to hopesquad.com. They have so much information on there, all the schools that they're involved in, how the program works, how much the program costs. So that's a great resource if you want to try to get that into your child's school. It's a school-based program. And
we go out and talk. It's just to do it to help people. One of the first responders, ambulance service in Lafourche Parish, Acadia, one of their guys reached out to see if we would go talk for them. Me and Amanda. I mean, if anybody wants us to come to talk to tell our story, we welcome that. We do it out of the kindness of our heart. Where I work now, Mr. Mike Fazy, I just tell him when I gotta go, and he's cool with it. So I mean, I have his backing. We've talked to a family before, like we said earlier, that 2 days later they called for us to go talk to them. We don't mind doing that. That's what we're here for.
We find peace and hope in telling Evan's story and helping other people.
We go through rough patches where
absolutely,
like, you don't go a second without thinking about them. I mean, your new way of life is different. It's weird. I still have that feeling that I'm gonna come home one day and he's gonna come out of his room. This is a big dream, but it's not. So you just gotta find the positive in it. You gotta stay positive, and just give back, man. That's what we're about. So if anybody needs anything, you can find us. We live in a small town. People hunt us down.
Oh, so Hattie wants me to tell y'all a quick funny story about Evan that happened like 2 days before. He was heating up the, 90-second rice.
Instant rice or something.
90-second rice or whatever. And so he opens the packet and he puts it in the microwave and he presses 130 start. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, Evan, you put that for too long. I said, when it blows up in the microwave, I said, that's 90-second rice. I said, when it blows up in the microwave, you're going to clean it up. And he's laughing hysterically. And I mean, like on his knees. And he said, "You cannot be serious." And I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm not cleaning it up. You're cleaning up the microwave. I can't even reach. I'm too short to get to the top." And he's like, "Mom, please tell me this is a joke." And so it took me a minute, and then I realized what was happening, that 90 seconds is 1 minute and 30 seconds.
So, Amanda and Bart, thank y'all so much for taking us on this journey. And that lighter story actually is a great segue for us to enter our wrap-up segment. We at the end of every show, we always have a round of rapid-fire questions for our guests. And, of course, they're related to life on the bayou. You can give us a one-word answer or expand on the answer if you feel you need to explain. It's entirely up to you. But this is a great opportunity for us to segue into something positive as we sign off. So y'all ready?
Yes.
All right. So we'll start with Bart. What's your go-to order at a Down the Bayou restaurant?
Ooh, Rosie's Cafe. You gotta be the grits and gruyere. That's down the bayou. That's on a weekend. Oh man, you can't beat that.
And what about you, Amanda?
I guess, a roast beef po' boy. Definitely a roast beef po' boy. You can't go wrong.
I agree.
Goalpost, yeah.
All right, so now some tougher questions. You're eating potato salad. Does it go in the gumbo or on the side?
On the side.
In the gumbo.
And that's why y'all are perfect for it. Jambalaya, red. Do you prefer red or brown?
Brown.
Brown.
Do you have a favorite Cajun French word or phrase and its meaning?
Tad de. And I'm not looking at my wife.
What does it mean?
Hard head.
Oh,
that's always.
Oh, goodness. I don't know. My mom used to say a lot, but I don't think they were appropriate.
We get that a lot. All right, so we'll go to easier. What's your favorite snowball flavor?
Oh man, that's a tough one for me. I'm like every time I go, I get something different. But probably my go-to is probably the green spearmint. I like having a green tongue after.
Rainbow.
All right, finally, and this is the toughest one. When a boat is passing and you're sitting in the car, is the bridge open or closed?
Cool. Open for the boat, but closed for us. And I'm probably cursing because I can't get where I want to go.
So you would say it's closed?
I'll say it's closed.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say it's closed.
All right.
That's a funny question. I love it.
Well, that'll do it for us on this episode of the DTB podcast. Again, we want to thank our guests, Bart and Amanda Matis. Guys, we really appreciate y'all coming on and tell us your story. We sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having us.
We thank y'all for joining us. And for you listeners out there, you can subscribe to the DTB podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at the DTB podcast. You can also follow Bless Your Heart Nonprofit on Facebook or on Twitter at BYH Nonprofit. You can donate to Bless Your Heart Nonprofit on Venmo at Bless Your Heart Nonprofit and at PayPal at blessyourheartnonprofit@gmail.com. That'll wrap it up for us on the DTB podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for our next episode. Until then, this is Brennan Matherne. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.